Like a gold ring.
All right,
like
so my apologies for the acoustics and apologies for my own voice. We'll do the best we can under the circumstances. But on this very special day, we're all gathered here. A lot of people, so many people came out to honor a very special lady, a dear friend, a dear family member, a dear neighbor, a dear person, a very, very sweet, very special soul, our beloved Jean Geller. We'll start out by reading a selection from the Psalms. We're going to read the 23rd Psalm, both in Hebrew, and we'll say it then again in English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo exar, Bino yisteshech yarbitzeni, al mei menuchos yenachaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeit salmaves, lo yirara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Tairach lefanai shulchan neged sorai. Dishanta v'shem roshi, kosi revaya. Aktov v'chesed yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai. V'shavti bebeit Adonai la'orech yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So it's an ancient Jewish tradition to read what is called the Woman of Valor. So on one hand, I know that Jean would have been touched by some of the words, they're very complimentary, but some of them may not be quite contemporary enough for Jean, so our forgiveness to her. But the Jewish people have been reading this for a few thousand years, so hopefully it'll be okay with her. So we say, Eishes chayil mi yimsa, v'rachach mipni mechra, v'atach ba'lev bala, v'eshal le'exar. Kamal suto v'lo kol yemei chayecha, kappa parsa le'ani, v'yadecha shilcha le'evyon, noda b'sharim bala, v'shifto im ziknei aretz, oz v'hadar levusha, v'tischak liyam acharon, picha pachsa b'hachma, v'soyres chesed al yishreina, Savia halicha uspesa, v'lechem atzlus lo sochel. Kamu v'necha v'yashura, v'ala v'yahala. Rabos v'anos asu chayil, v'yatalis al kulana. Sheker achein v'hevel hayofi, isha yiras adinai hi tisalel. Tenula mi pri yadecha, v'halucha b'sharim ma'asecha. A woman of valor who can find, for her price is far beyond rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, and he hath no lack of gain. She does no evil by him, and only good. All the days of her life she stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hand to the needy. Her husband may be known in the gates when he sits with the elders, but with her it is the strength and dignity that are her clothing. She laughs at the time to come, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the laws of kindness are on her tongue. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and they call her. Her husband also and praise her. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you have excelled them all. Grace is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. The thing about Jean is that I think everybody in this room knew her very well. Everyone had a close relationship with her, and everyone could tell tons of stories. So in a sense, like, what's the rabbi doing up here? He's going to just tell you stories you know already, right? But in the Jewish tradition, we want to say nice words. We want to share the story of a person's life. And one of the main reasons is because we know that they're listening. That Jean is right with us. Her body may have left this world, but her spirit, her personality, her soul is soaking all of these things up. And it gives her incredible joy to hear the stories she heard many times, and to be reminded once again how she touched people, how she affected people, how her personality did so much good for people. That gives eternal rest, that gives eternal comfort, and a special, special softness to her soul after all the things that she's gone through on this very special day. So I hope to share with you a few things, and things I'm sharing are really not so much my things, it's really sharing on behalf of the family. Because as a Jewish tradition, that you watch out for the mourners. You don't put them in hard situations. You don't make them talk in front of a microphone when it's difficult. So as the rabbi, I'll do my very best to share some of the stories and anecdotes and some of the unique personalities that Jean had. But the idea of Jewish mourning, it's a whole long process. It never ends. We'll talk about her today at the funeral. We'll talk about the Shiva. And we'll keep talking and talking and talking about her as months and years go along, keeping her memory very eternal, very real, and very special. So one of the things that I think everyone would say about Jean was that she was always there for other people. She was always there as a friend. She was always there as a crying shoulder. She was always there to listen for people when they wanted to share their troubles. And there's certain people, who can listen, but right after they listen to your troubles, they tell you what you should do and how you should fix your problems. And I think a lot of people like Jean because she would just listen, She wouldn't judge you. She wouldn't tell you what she thought. She would just absorb your pain and be with you in that situation. The thing about her is that she had tons of space for friends. There was no quota, I got enough friends, I got enough social engagements, I have enough people in my address book. No such thing. Right? You just look out into the audience and you can see how many people came out on this particular day. I don't think even Berkut's Cumin and Mount Olive were ready for the parking situation, that all of you guys created by being so many friends. The thing about Jean is that she might have been a sweet older lady, but she loved to party. She loved to have a good time, just get out and do stuff. For her, the hardest thing was just sitting at home, not doing anything. Right? She always had a bundle of energy, and if you had an opportunity, something for her to do, she was right on it with you. And her family said a really beautiful thing, is that some people collect stamps, some people collect Chinaware, but what did she collect? She collected friends, right? She collected friends, and she brought friends together in her beautiful collection. So a person who is so friend-oriented, what kind of routine would they have in the morning, right? Some people's routines are focused on themselves. I go for my run, I have my breakfast, I read my newspaper. But what did Jean do in the morning? As soon as it was about 8:30, she'd get on the telephone and she'd call at least 4 or 5 people. And the way the family made it sound is that if she didn't reach 4 or 5 people, she'd call a few more people until she got her quota. You could not begin your day if you were Jean until you spoke to a few people and said, hey, what's up? Where are you? What are you doing? And you weren't looking for big news. You weren't looking for great big things happening. Just, where are you? What are you up to? What are you doing today? And then with that, Jean could start her day. The thing about Jean is that she had a certain strength, but she was also very, very sensitive. She was very sensitive inside. And we all knew that we could upset her very easily. So if, God forbid, we had bad news, we had to tell it to her very softly and carefully and sweetly. And, it was really remarkable because she heard so many people's problems and some people's troubles, but yet she was so sensitive, which really shows you that it was not so simple. She was always very conscientious about keeping people together. This sensitivity, she wanted everyone to get along, everyone to be happy, everyone to sit around, at the same table. And the funny thing about her was that she wanted to do everything to bring people together, especially at the same meal. But there was one thing she wouldn't do. She wouldn't cook the meal. She would want you to sit around the meal. She'd want you to be together, but I guess there was a bit of a question mark how the food would get to the table. But, I said a little bit before, but she really never judged people. She took people as they were. She didn't really care what decisions they made. She didn't care what kind of lives they lived, if it was her way or not her way. It was just someone in her family, one of her friends, and she dearly loved them for who that they were. But I take it back. The family did tell me she did cook a few things, right? There were a few items that she was very famous for, some less skilled and some more skilled. So she would often come with a Jell-O mold, which is nothing fancy, nothing was added to it. There was no fruit, perhaps, I don't know, but that was her effort. And when she was hungry, she would make herself a little chicken, a little corn and peas, and some salad. And when she wanted to get really, really fancy, she would make a potato kugel. But the thing about that was that more fun than making the food was going out to eat. And so if you were speaking to her on the phone and you made the slightest suggestion that, wow, the weather is nice, she would say, oh, it's so nice outside, maybe let's go out and eat something, right? Or you might say, I'm going to head out and go do. And then she said, oh, you're going to go to the ice cream shop with me? That would be perfect, seizing upon any opportunity that she could have. And so just some of her favorite moments were the grandkids and the kids and the friends just going out for a bite of ice cream. And then I heard a story about a remarkable red classic convertible. I don't know, is that yours? Yeah. So, what could get better than ice cream and grandchildren and East Coast custard? a red convertible with the top down, cruising around the east side, so that was her thing. So Jean had a lot of internal strength. I think that's what attracted a lot of people to her as a friend. She lived on her own for more than 30 years at Sherry Park. She lost her dear second husband Abe in 1990 and lived for more than 30 years by herself as a very strong and happy widow. With this internal strength, she found ways to adapt to the times and to the challenges. When COVID came and people couldn't visit her and they couldn't talk to her, what did she go out and buy? She got herself an iPhone, right? She's the 90-year-old lady at the Apple store looking for the latest iPhone to talk to her children. So, even though she was a people person, she found the strength that she needed to do. And so she helped to make collection phone calls, and I was curious, like, what do those phone calls sound like? Such a nice, sensitive person, but she was calling you and telling you that you owed some money, so somehow she pulled the strength together to help make some good collections for the family business. So another sign of her strength. But one thing that you cannot not notice is that she was an organizer. And the kids kind of made a joke. We were sitting at the table together and there was a few pads of paper. Who was organizing the pads of paper so that they were lined up? Jean's children, or some of them at least. But that was one of her strengths, is that she had a strength of keeping things together. Everything was organized. And especially in her day, there were a lot of Jewish organizations that always wanted to do a lot of things, but people weren't so organized. They were more excited, they were more keen, they had some great ideas, but you really needed a Jean to make things happen. And so very often she would help to be an organizer. She'd be a treasurer, she'd be a planner, and sometimes it made a lot of sense. It was an organization that she had a connection to, organization that she was part of, but sometimes it made no sense whatsoever. She just had a friend who was one of the Jewish war veterans, and she decided that she would help them with a major campaign, a major effort, and she was so in demand. And the family gave me, to be honest, a long list of all the things she organized, but I couldn't write that fast. So there's Chazak and allowance alums and Camp Wise and synagogue stuff and all kinds of things that she organized, which were pretty amazing and were pretty remarkable. The thing about her, she was never boring, and she expressed her not being boring in many ways, and one of them was music. And we'll soon hear from Robin, who's going to discuss a little bit about her musical connection. But one of the things that really delighted her more than anything was her family. She dearly loved her children, she dearly loved her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren. And so she was a very fun grandmother. She was a lot of fun to be around with. When you guys were little, she always had little candies for you in the pockets, and she would give them out to you whenever she could. And she would take you on field trips that were a little routine, but were a little bit not so routine. You would go to the Shaker Lakes and feed the ducks, but maybe it was more regular to go to a different restaurant. But she took you to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and she took you to a little bit more roundabout, kind of places which you really enjoyed. And when the parents would go out of town, she would take care of the grandkids, and she would host the sleepovers, and that was always obviously a big memory, and that was always a lot of fun. So going back a little bit, I happened to actually, before I knew Jean, I knew Miriam, and so I knew a little bit of this family history, from Miriam. But when she was young, she lived in the Glenville neighborhood, one of the old Jewish neighborhoods. But it was really just during elementary school already that the family moved up to the Heights, and she eventually graduated from Cleveland Heights High School. She graduated a little bit early. We were trying to do the math, and she got married, right away after high school to her first husband, to her dear Gil, and then later on she got married to Abe. And as we said, Abe passed away in 1990. So the family moved around a little bit, like I said, East Cleveland, a little bit of Cleveland Heights, a little bit of University Heights, and she just had a life of just always being busy. Wherever she was doing good stuff, making good friends, and making people happy. So just in closing, in my own words, I just want to thank the family so much for sharing with me, and I think on behalf of the world of Cleveland, we just should thank Jean for bringing us all together. So like a place like Cleveland is special. People have connections and people get things done. People are warm, right? The Jewish community is strong because why? People like Jean just get in the middle of it and bring it all together. She really was the glue, the synthesis of so much. And the neat thing about someone like Jean is they have this just energy. They have this energy and enthusiasm, and it's something that gets passed along from generation to generation to generation. And so from what I've heard, it started in her generation. It's already this enthusiasm, this excitement, this energy is already, moving on to generation number 3 or 4. So we pray that her memory should be for a blessing, and that her excitement and her connection to friends should always continue among all of us. And we should make her friends our friends and make an even bigger circle to continue. So now it's my pleasure to call upon her her daughter Henny, who's going to say a few words. You go ahead. Sorry about that.
I am reading this for Natalie, who's on her way here later today. And it's to Nana. And it's, yeah. Nana and Poppy used to travel to when they would travel to Israel, they would always come back with presents for us kids. They would bring back ceramic masks like the ones from Mardi Gras, and beautiful gemstone jewelry from all parts of their world travels. I remember when I would sleep over at their house, we would play outside in the backyard, feed the birds in their hanging birdhouse, and after dinner, Nana would give me a vanilla pudding popsicle, which was my favorite, my all-time favorite. I give her so much credit and award-winning recognition for taking care of our husky dog and our German Shepherd Rocky when we were traveling, also trying to figure out the remote controls to the TV. She definitely was an iconic grandmother. Nana, may we all raise a glass of your favorite white wine. Toast to you. May you rest at ease and travel extensively now with Poppy. Love, Natalie.
Nice, thank you.
So these words were written by my Uncle Keith on behalf of all of our family, and I think Natalie really summed up all of the grandchildren's experience very well. That right down to the Jello pudding popsicles. Oh. Is this better?
Yeah, it's good.
All right. So these words were written by Uncle Keith, and on behalf of the whole family. And Natalie also really summed up the grandchildren's experience very well, right down to the Jello pudding popsicles that were so ubiquitous and such a treat and when we were little. But on behalf of our family, we would like to thank everyone for coming to our mother's funeral service. Our mother lived a full and long life. She was a strong person and was able to live on her own until the last year of her life. She was working and driving up until a few years ago. Her mother loved to go to parties. She was always the first and the last person on the dance floor. Her goal in 2023 was to go to her great-granddaughter Noah's bat mitzvah in Los Angeles. Though it was a long and hard trip for her, she wouldn't have missed it for anything. Our entire lives, our mother was involved in some kind of singing and dancing entertainment group. The times she was performing with the high notes were some of her favorite times. She often talked about rehearsals, the performances, the songs that they sang, and the women she did it with. She loved it. On Tuesday, when Leslie and Keith went to visit our mom, though she was barely conscious, all of a sudden she started moving her feet and opening and closing her mouth as if she was singing and dancing for one last encore. Our mother was not the kind of person who collected things, as was mentioned earlier, or saved many things, such as Uncle Keith's baseball card collection. But now that would probably be worth a few $1,000,000. But the one thing she collected was friends, and some of her friends she met in school and were still in contact with them. Her morning ritual was to check in with everyone and make sure they were okay. And everywhere she went, she knew someone or was getting to know someone. She always knew the staff, the nurses, the aides, just about anyone she came in contact with, and she always remembered their names. Though she wasn't a very good cook, her favorite greeting when she talked to you on the phone was, what's cooking? We would also like to thank Leah Love and Love to Love LLC for the care that she gave to her mother at the end of her life. She loved her family and was a loving and supportive wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. We will miss her dearly, but her memory will live on in all of us. Thank you again for coming to celebrate and honor our mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, sister, aunt, cousin, great-aunt, and friend.
So now we've been able to honor Jean with nice stories and words, but it's also very important in the Jewish tradition that we honor one in a physical way, that we take care of the physical needs of their burial, and we take care of those needs as a community, as her friends, and as her family. And so even though it's not so easy to put some earth, or not so easy to pick up a shovel, there's a Jewish idea that it's very important, and it's very, very special. And that perhaps when we think about what we're doing, pretty soon, placing the earth on top of the casket, we can think about that, like Jean's final resting place, the place her body will always be, is surrounded by our love in a physical way. The love that is symbolized by the earth that we place there with our very own hands and our very own shovels. So at this moment, we're actually going to rise in honor to Jean, and we're going to lower the casket. And once the casket is lowered, we're going to first ask the immediate family to come and assist in placing some of the earth. And then after the family has taken care of that, we'll make two lines, or two separate sides here, and all the guests, all the friends, and other people should, assist as well if they're able to. The Jewish custom is you take a shovel full of earth, you place it on, and you put it back in the pile, and the person who comes after you takes it out themselves and puts it back themselves.
That was nice too. Little buddies, you see?
You guys can feel cute with the earth. Take a shovel full of earth. You can write the grandkids, great grandkids.
I couldn't think of it either this morning. under those circumstances, of course. Yeah, thank you.
This time we're going to go ahead and place the vault cover, and then after the vault cover's on, we encourage everybody as much as possible to help out as well. Okay, guys, so we're gonna have two sides. We'll have one side over here and then one side over there. Please come in
I'd like to ask anybody who would like to share in the mitzvah to step forward at this time.
And then I don't remember. Probably I did. I don't remember that specifically, but yeah, her handwriting was a challenge. Yeah. Were you there last night? I should say at the end of the holiday or something. We have me again next year.
Yeah. That was a big one.
Yeah, thanks. He probably said everything.
I had so many.
It's gonna be a rubber stamp.
Yeah, and said that before.
Yeah, I would kind of get rid of the ships.
Wait, did you see Eric around the radio?
Yeah, Eric is right there with the keys. I just dug it because they're walking around.
So they didn't, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was really, you came further than I did.
It's a testament to keep. People coming from out of town.
Hi.
Sure, I'm gonna say hi to Eric. Come over.
It's not a trick, but like I said, I see it. Keith more than anyone related to. We're always passing each other in the line. I don't know. It's ever since my surgery.
Exactly. She was 64 at the time.
Yes, they said maybe
I didn't
it's just in this though.
love that too much. But I would,
And I've talked to so many people. Some people are great.
Okay, everybody, we're just going to start wrapping up the process of placing the earth and come back to the center in just a minute or two for the concluding prayers.
Everyone would please move back towards the town. Babe.
We're all supposed to come back.
Okay, folks, we're going to get started with the concluding prayers. So just a brief announcement. The family will receive friends. Shh. The folks can come back under the tent. We're going to finish up the concluding prayers. So the family will receive friends at the residence of Adrian and Harvey Siegel, which was located at 17 Hyde Park in Beechwood, in the village. But the special receiving will not occur today until 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is the start time, and it's going to go until 5 p.m. We're going to resume again on Saturday evening from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then the final Shiva time will be on Sunday from 12 noon to 4 p.m. Friends who wish to contribute may do so to the NCJW Cleveland chapter or to the Velosano special cause, care of the Cleveland Clinic, and the details and the addresses are available in the obituary on the Berkowitz Cumin website. What we're going to do now is recite a prayer called the Kel Malei Rachamim. It's a special prayer that is said at a Jewish funeral, and the theme of which is that God watches over and God protects all those people who've passed on into heaven. And then after the recitation of that, we have the very important mitzvah, the recitation of the Kaddish. So all the family members in unison will say together the Kaddish as a tribute on behalf of Jean. The very last thing that we're going to do, it may be a little bit new to some people, it's called a row of consolation. Because in Judaism, it's very important that we comfort the mourners. And so in order to do that, what we do is we're actually going to make a row. All of us who are not mourners will make two rows of people facing each other, faces facing each other, and almost at a wedding in a sense, between those two rows of people will walk the mourners. They'll walk nice and slow, and as they walk past us, we can say to them in our own words, I hope you be comforted, we love you, or you can say the traditional Jewish verses of Hamakom Yanachem Etchem, etc., as you choose. And that will complete the service at the very end. If I may, I just wanted to read a little selection. This is something that, for me, gives me a lot of comfort when I think about losing a person. It's called To Those I Love and To Those Who Love Me. It's a special poem that was written by a person who knew that their time was short. They wouldn't have a lot of time in this world, but they wanted to leave a thought of strength, something to help their family when they could no longer be there to help them themselves. So someone like Jean, someone with her own internal strength and internal sensitivity, might have said the exact same thing to us if we said to her, how can I do this? This is so hard to have you gone. When I am gone, release me, let me go. I have so many things to see and to do. You mustn't tie yourself to me with tears. Be happy that we had precious years. I gave you my love, you can only guess how much you gave to me in happiness. I thank you for the love you each have shown, but now it's time I traveled on alone. So grieve a while for me, if grieve you must, then let your grief be comforted by trust. It's only for a while that we must part, so bless the memories within your hearts. I won't be far away, for life goes on, so if you need me, call and I will come. Though you can't see or touch me, I'll be near, all of my love around you, soft and clear. And when you must come this way alone, I'll greet you with a smile and say, welcome home. So now we're going to read the Kel Mali Rachamim. El Mali Rachamim, Sheikhein Mamrumim, Hamsei Menucha Nechain El Kanfei Hashchina, B'malais Kedaishim Utairim Gezarakia Masirim, Es Nishmas, Jean Geller, Shahalacha Lailama, Bavor Shanachtu Mispalim Bahad Hazras Nishmasa, Began Eden Tehei Menuchasa, Lechem Bal Harachamim, Yastirecha Beseisa Kanafav Leoilamim, Bitzor Bitzor Achayim Es Nishmasa, Adonai Hu Nachalasa, Yanuach Al Mishkavo B'Shalom, Benamar Amen. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of your presence, among the holy and the pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of our most beloved Jean Geller, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May her possession and may her repose in the Garden of Eden may in peace. May we be in peace. And we say together, Amen. So at this point now, the family is going to gather, and we're going to say the Kaddish. And then, like I said, we're going to form the special row, and then that will complete our service. Okay, does everyone have a card? You need a card?
I have one of those. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Let's start together. Nice. Yehei Shmei Rabba Larach Leolam Olei Olmei Yitmarach Yishtabach Yitpa'ar Yitramam Yitnaseh Yitzhadar Yitzhalech Yitzhalal Shmei Dekudesha Berichu Le'ela Min Pol Berchata V'shirata Tushvechata V'nechemata Amiran Ve'alma Ve'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'mrumav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. So we take a moment to get our things together, and we'll go ahead and form the two rows. And we're going to form the two rows. And we should ask the French to step down and create an aisle.
Very gentle man. Betsy.
Huh? We're standing right here. And then they'll make rows. And they walk down. No, you can make right left. Last way, right?
We're just going to walk through this room.
We could have the immediate family step forward, please.
Okay. Nice and slow, and then
I'm not a immediate.
you can walk nice and slow.
Family, if you guys could step forward, please.
On your mark.
You're a